So they call this wildcrafting for a reason. I mean, to me, it's a craft. And a craft is an art that you hone over the years.
The best training programs that you take somebody like your grandfather, your father, your uncle, your big brother, maybe just a neighbor on your street that knows about plants, and you look up to people like that.
When was the first time you went up?
I was 8 years old. My papa took me. Loved it ever since.
What do you remember from that first day?
He went and dug one, a piece of thing. He gave it to me. He said, "This is what it looks like." He said, "Don't come home until you got a pound." So I couldn't come home until I dug a pound. It took me 2 days.
I'd started them out, and this 4-year-old.
Sometimes he'd pack me on his shoulders.
Carried them on my shoulder, around straddle my neck, and I'd give them a top.
He would dig it and give us a top on it, and we would walk around, look at the top, and look through the weeds.
He would done be seeing the plants, and he would be trying to teach me, and he'd say, "Now look for it. I've showed you what it looks like."
And I'd look and see one, and I'd walk up pretty close to it and stand there, and just like I was looking around, try to see one, and they'd spot it with that top, you know. That's how they learned it.
And finally I'd spot it, and that's how he taught me.
Now we can walk through the weeds, just even the little corner of a tip of a leaf, you can pick it out after you've done it for 40 years.
Every single person that we talk to about their history has been taught by somebody, and that's the heritage of this area. These people know these plants because it hasn't been too many generations ago that was the medicine that they depended on.
Herbs have been harvested and traded throughout Appalachia for over 300 years. I mean, that you didn't have a CVS in 1812. You know, you had the back 40 and that, you know, and Witch Hazel Holler. You know, if you got the bad case of the hemorrhoids, that's where you were heading. You knew where to go.
Forest Botanicals, they go back way in history. I mean, if we think about the founding of this country, there's folks like Daniel Boone who were harvesting ginseng. It's a big part of Native American culture, passed down for generations and generations in Appalachia. So I think Forest Botanicals and wild harvesting and foraging it's deeply entangled into the culture here.
Each and every species that you dig has uniqueness about it and how you need to approach it, when you need to harvest it, when you need to plant, if it's going to grow better from seed or grow better from roots, so you can come back in the following year. So I'm just saying it's wildcrafting, it's a craft, and we need to appreciate it and reward the people who learn the craft, and hopefully they'll pass that on to generations.
You know, we started out with 20 real strong people, and we were able to buy slippery elm and golden seal and tree products, leaves, barks, ginseng as well, and it made a big difference for those 20 people. And then they told their friends, if you don't nurture those relationships constantly, they'll go and find something else to do.
Our average age right now, the good diggers we got's probably 35 and up. We ain't, you know, we may get a couple 20-year-olds, but they'll dig 1 or 2 times, then you won't see them again.
Too much work and not enough pay?
Yep, too much work, not enough pay.
You got a lot of people out of work because of the coal mines have shut down. Nobody had work, so they depended on ginseng, they depended on black cohosh, golden seal, yellow root, wild gem, and if they didn't do that, they didn't survive.
Yeah.
And a lot of people left the county, left the state, would go other places to find work. And if they didn't do that here, they had to.
We see some of the largest densities of forest botanicals being harvested. Largely it's in economically depressed areas, and if we overlay that with density maps that show where there's a loss of coal jobs, there's a big increase in forest botanical harvesting in the wild.
You know, this place around here ain't no jobs, so what else to do? So it's a little rough, but we get by.
Sometimes you go out in the hills, you may dig $200 or $300 in a week. Sometimes you go out and you won't find nothing. It all depends if somebody else has done been in there and dug it before you. But this way, you know, you got a job and you're making money every day to produce for your family.
It comes to a point where, you know, you have a family and you need to feed your family. And if you don't have a job and there's Forest Botanicals in the woods and you can harvest ginseng to make sure your family gets, you know, what they need that night, then that's what you need to do. And I think forest farming has the opportunity to even create even more economic opportunity in this regions for people who do not have those opportunities anymore.
Most of your hardcore ginseng diggers who are doing it for that passion over profit, they're the best stewards. They're replanting the berries. They're taking seed back into the woods where they're harvesting. They're not harvesting out of season, or they're harvesting when the berries are ripe.
When I was young, I remember when, like I said, we were walking up here in this mountain. I was just a young kid at the time, 5, 6, 7 years old. I don't remember the exact year, but we found some ginseng and Dad told me to dig it, and there was the baby plants. And I started to dig one of those and he basically threatened to whip me. So, very young age, Dad taught us not to dig the small plants, to leave the babies, and to leave something for the future.
If you are smart on how you do things, you can go back to that same place. Something like a little two-prong, like that don't need duck. If you leave that alone, you go back 7, 8 years from now, that'll be a big three-prong, probably standing knee-high, that's worth digging.
There are a lot of wild harvesters who are actually practicing forest farming, a form called wild stewarding, where when they harvest, they're waiting until the plants are mature. They're harvesting those berries, they're replanting them, they're replanting a portion of the rhizome. That's all good, wonderful stewardship under forest farming.
So this, for example, this root right here, you can separate this root and replant that much as long as you have a bud and some fiber roots, and just replant that and it'll grow back, and then you can take that home and dry it. And try to put it, you know, put it right back in the soil where you got it out of.
But a lot of these guys are not willing to be that way. Me and Dad taught me the right way to do it when I was young. Leave small stuff, just dig the bigger plants.
The gap in between the generations of harvesters has a lot to do with the fact that older generation is starting to leave us. They're either not able to walk in the hills anymore, or they're gone. They've passed on. So that's led to there being less people to teach.
A lot of kids don't want to really work too hard nowadays. A lot of generations are getting softer. They really are. I was used to the rough, tough, get out and get it type generation, you know, and nowadays they're just getting soft.
You know, time you pack one of these sacks out of the mountain, you just got 40 pounds in it. Time you get to the top of that mountain, they think they got 140 in it, because, you know, it's just hard work and dragging it up out of these trees and mountains, and they just don't think the money's worth the time they have to put in to come in the mountains and dig it.
Just keeping people interested in digging. That's the main task.
What we really want to do as our #1 priority is build up a strong collector base. That's really the bread and butter of what we're trying to build here. And when we have that, the rest will follow. The demand will follow. And our job is to put these people in a position to where they want to collect a lot, collect efficiently, fairly. And once we have that established, then that's when the market fixes itself, comes back to life.
A lot that gives me hope is people like me will push these young people more to go out, get into it. I've got a lot of friends that I'm trying to push into it, and if I can get them and their kids doing it, maybe they can get somebody else going. That gives me hope that a man could get more into it, more people interested.
So since you were that first time, every year do you go dig?
Every year, every time it comes in. If I got a job, I quit it.
Really?
Yep, just to go. I love it. That's all they are.
Can you describe a day like when you're going ginseng hunting?
The best day is when you walk over the ridge line, see nothing but red berries. I love it. I just sit down. It's peaceful. If you get mad at somebody, go in the mountains. It'll calm you down.